You know, other than the 11 years it was memorialized by the TV show MASH, the Korean War is often referred to as America's forgotten war. In fact, it wasn't even officially a war. Following World War II, America's involvement in the Korean conflict, the North versus the South, it didn't even get a whole lot of attention. Didn't get the same attention for sure. Close to 2 million Americans, though, were involved. Most of those came home to little or no fanfare. Not like it was in Vietnam, where American soldiers came home to threats and disdain, but those who served in country, those veterans did come home with trauma and damage that really wasn't talked about. This year marks 70 years since the informal ceasefire was negotiated. That's when America packed up. But to this day, North and South Korea remain at war. To help understand it a little bit better and to remember what seems to have been forgotten, Joe Paris spoke with a Boise State expert on the Korean conflict.
I think part of the big issue with terminology is we'd just come out of World War II, right? And no one wanted to go to war again. Most people didn't know where Korea was, and they didn't want to send their sons and daughters to this place that they'd never heard of before. And so the police action or military action was the terminology used by President Truman at the time. And it was, in fact, though, a very clear war. It was tragic, it was brutal, it was devastating. So I think it's very fair to now at least call it a war.
Dr. Lisa Brady is a history professor at Boise State. She specializes in studying the Korean War. A forgotten war for many, but it stands as a crucial origin story into American foreign policy.
We got involved because of the fear of a communist takeover of the world. Although the Soviet Union had been our ally in World War II, there had been increasing tensions between the United States, Great Britain, France, and the Soviet Union. And so when North Korea, which also had declared itself to be the rightful authority over the entire peninsula, moved beyond the demarcation line in 1950, that signaled a very clear threat in the minds of Americans.
Close to 40,000 American service members were killed in the Korean War, but back at home, there was not the same energy that heavily rallied during World War II.
This is why it's called the Forgotten War. Many people at the time didn't understand the conflict. Many of the soldier recollections in archives across the nation, the soldiers themselves and Marines and sailors and airmen, they came back and they said, nobody even really noticed, right? There were no parades, there were no confrontations. It was just they were expected to just move right back into civilian society without a whole lot of support, to be honest.
Hearing stories from veterans of the Korean War can be rare these days for a collection of reasons. Idaho's Warhawk Air Museum in Nampa has worked to record oral histories with the men who served, snippets into history lived.
He rolled upside down, and of course he was still on fire, and he just hit the ground and splattered all over everywhere. And I was so, I guess shaken is not the word, I was just, I lost all my, the rest of the flight.
In the mountains, it was really cold. They said it was 15 below the first night, 30 below the second night, and went to 40 below. Whether it did or not, I know it was cold. Did you know I learned something? My body, most of our bodies, you'll get acclimated to the weather in about a month. When you realize you're not in mom's kitchen, when you realize this is the way it is, you better make the best of it. And my guys were very good at doing that.
That time of life for me was probably the best in gaining the knowledge of other people and how we associate with other people. Entire life lesson.
In my own personal family, my uncle fought in Korea. I didn't know he had fought there until my mother told me about 5 or 6 years ago. He never talks about it. It was that traumatic for him. And I think that that is the case for many Korean War veterans.
And coming up on this Saturday, KTVB will help present the 2023 Veterans Parade in downtown Boise, the parade route right in front of the state capitol. Parade kicks off at 10 a.m. and the theme this year is honoring the veterans of the Korean War. Again, Brian, it's been 70 years since the essential armistice or the ceasefire, but as we touched on, the war is still very active between North and South Korea. Yeah, and these memories that we talk about, I mean, that's the common thread is veterans of wars don't really like to talk about it, but you can hear them tell their stories at the Warhawk Air Museum, which is pretty cool. It's actually incredible incredible the amount of digital archives they have for not just the Korean War, but Vietnam, World War II, the missions into Afghanistan and Iraq. You can go on, and we'll link this in the story on ktvb.com, but just listening to some of these stories today, Brian, I went probably through a few dozen of them. It's the type of information that, to me at least, you can't just pick up reading out of a book. Hearing these men and women tell their stories in their own words, it's very powerful. And I don't know about you, but when I was going through schooling, they didn't really talk about the Korean War. I think maybe we had 1 or 2 days. So for me, learning about it through these stories, it's been very interesting the last few days.
All right, we hope to learn more about it too this weekend for the parade. Thanks, Joe.